On August 15, 1947, we attained independence. Alongside, the great ancient land of Bharat was partitioned on communal lines. On the one hand, when the Congress leadership and the Muslim leadership were preparing themselves for independence and taking over the rulership, British colonialists led by Lord Mountbatten were trying to execute the India's Independence Act hurriedly. Many parts of Akhand Bharat were witnessing riots, mayhems, murders and inhuman crimes against women. Gandhiji was taking tours in eastern parts of Bharat. The second Sarsang Chalak of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh Shri Golwalkar Gurji was travelling in the western part, which constitute Pakistan now. RSS was running many refugee camps. Muslim League leaders were busy not just preparing for Pakistan but also instigating communal frenzy mobs on the ground. A book by researcher and author Shri Prashant Pol tried to put together developments of this fortnight of August 1947 in his book, which is one of the best sellers, called Wo 15 Din, which is translated as Those 15 Days. This year, Organiser is taking you through the developments of those 15 days, going through the most happening 15 days towards Bharat's independence alongside the communal partition will provide new insights to the viewers and inspire them to take up research on various aspects of conversations, communications and negotiations, as well as the kind of communal frenzy things happening on the ground about India's independence and the great partition of this land. Those 15 days, August 12th, 1947, Tuesday. It was the day of Param Ekadashi. The extra month that year had fallen in the month of Shravan. The Ekadashi had fallen this month was called Param Ekadashi. There were just 2 or 3 persons observing a fast on Ekadashi among those staying with Gandhiji at the Sodepur ashram near Calcutta. Special arrangements for their refreshments was being made. However, Gandhiji's mind was occupied with the meeting he had with Sohrawardi the previous night. Shahid Sohrawardi. The Shahid in his name was no connection whatsoever with him being a martyr. If any, it had to be with taking the life of others. Sohrawardi, the villain of Direct Action Day of 1946, had come to meet Gandhiji 1 year after that incident. He blatantly flaunted sin of cruelly and barbarically slaughtering 5,000 Hindus on the day of Direct Action. Being extremely sly, lusty, addicted and cruel, Sohrawardi outwardly appeared educated and sophisticated. He dressed in an up-to-date manner. Although he was a radical Muslim, he was anglicized in his sense. Gandhiji's morning prayer had attracted quite a good gathering. Some journalists too were seen sitting in the front row. After singing hymns and spinning yarn, Gandhiji began to speak. August 15th, which is just 2 days away, will be an important day in India's history. I've heard that some Muslims in Calcutta are going to observe this day as a day of mourning. I hope that this news is false. Of course, everyone may have a different outlook over this day and we cannot force anyone to celebrate it in a particular manner. Now the question arises, what should Hindus of Pakistan do on August 15th? My answer is that they should bow to the national flag of Pakistan. I have also heard that Indians living in the Portuguese and the French colonies, that is Goa, Daman, Diu, Pondicherry, are going to announce their freedom on August 15th. This is entirely thoughtlessness. This means that we Indians are snobs. The British are leaving India, not the French and Portuguese. I believe that the Indians in these colonies will become independent today or tomorrow, but it would not be proper for them to take the law into their hands today. Shahid Sohrawardi Sahib had come to meet me yesterday. He told me that it would not be right to leave Calcutta in such a volatile situation. He has requested me to extend my stay in Calcutta and remain here till peace is established. I have told Sohrawardi that I would accept this request from him on one condition. And the condition is, Sohrawardi Sahib should stay with me under one roof in a restive place in Calcutta, and that place should not be guarded by the police or army. The Border Commission's decision will be out in the next 1 or 2 days, and the exact partition line will be defined. In such a scenario, both Hindus and Muslims must respect the commission. That was the message of Gandhiji on August 12, 1947. In Srinagar, the Maharaja of Kashmir dismissed his Prime Minister Ramchandra Kak. His tenure as the Prime Minister of just 2 years had proved very controversial. He was openly hostile towards Jawaharlal Nehru and the Congress. Few months ago, Mountbatten had suggested to the Maharaja in Srinagar to merge Jammu Kashmir with Pakistan, but the Maharaja had then outrightly rejected the suggestion. Then Mr. Kak took the position that if Kashmir were not to be merged with Pakistan, it should not be merged with India either. Kashmir should remain independent. He gave this advice to Maharaja. Had Gandhiji taken the stand during his Srinagar visit 9 or 10 days ago that Kashmir should be merged into India, then things would have been much easier. However, Gandhiji did not say anything about the merger to Maharaja because he looked at India and Pakistan as his two children. He just asked the Maharaja to remove Ramchandra Kak. Accordingly, Maharaja Hari Singh acted on it and announced Janak Singh, originally belonging to Himachal Pradesh, but one of Maharaja's relatives, as the new Prime Minister of Jammu Kashmir. Ramchandra Kak tried to flee but failed to succeed. The Maharaja kept him under surveillance in his home. A new chapter had started in the politics of Kashmir. In Delhi, the Ministry of Personnel in the Government of India had published its order. Dr. Jivraj Mehta had been appointed as the Director General of Medical Services. This was a historic event in the eyes of the British government because a doctor from outside the Indian medical service had been awarded the top post for the first time. Dr. Jivraj Mehta was Gandhiji's personal doctor and was looking after Gandhiji's health for the past 20 years. In Pondicherry, the French government lifted the ban imposed on meetings and rallies. It was announced that those who were arrested in this regard would be released soon. After returning from Paris, the French governor and the French officials in India met Gandhiji in Calcutta, after which this announcement was made. The announcement was to be implemented in Mahe and Chandan Nagar besides Pondicherry. At Lahore, the riots that had erupted since the previous night had now acquired terrible proportions. Someone had deliberately spurred the rumor that the Radcliffe Border Commission had decided to include Lahore in India. That was enough to ignite the situation. The Muslim National Guard were only waiting for this opportunity. They were fully prepared. Moreover, this news enraged even the common Muslims. Arsons and looting started a day earlier. The Swayamsevaks of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh displayed amazing and unparalleled courage in the affected parts and saved many lives. The office of RSS itself was situated in a Hindu majority area, and it received the news that members of the Muslim National Guard were planning to attack it. Therefore, many Swayamsevaks took guard for the protection of the office. This aggression by the Muslim ruffians had become even more intense since 10 o'clock in the morning. Since the Sikhs were easily recognizable, more attacks took place against the Sikhs. An elderly Sikh was hacked to death in the middle of the road in the Hindu and Sikh majority area, the Deputy Ganj area, at around 11 am. The Sikh squirmed on the road and became quiet within 4-5 minutes to lie still forever. Extremely terrible and brutal forces were seen dancing on the streets of Lahore. The official number of dead people 3 p.m. was about 50. Almost all of them were Hindus and Sikhs. Those who were fortunate enough to get admitted in the hospital had received such strange, dreadful and deep wounds that even doctors and nurses had virtually to fight with death for every patient. The riots in Lahore spread to Gurdaspur and Lalpur by the afternoon. Finally, Governor Jenkins sent a telegram to Lord Mountbatten that Lahore and Amritsar police cannot be trusted. The Muslim National Guard goons are rioting in the police uniform. The situation is not in control. Lahore was burning, and with Lahore, entire Punjab had started to burn. However, the rulers in Delhi did not seem to have much concern over it. In Calcutta, 2 o'clock at noon, a statement had been issued for publicity on behalf of 2.5 lakh sailors employed on the Calcutta dock. The Association of Muslim Sailors had threatened through the statement that if Calcutta is not merged with Pakistan, then will go to an indefinite strike. It said that Calcutta port had been controlled by Muslims since 1690 when it had been built. Therefore, it would not be wise in any sense to give it to the Hindu majority West Bengal. On the other hand, at Sodepur Ashram, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Gandhiji was taking a siesta in the ashram. Hence, Calcutta's former mayor Usman, who had come from undivided Bengal's Prime Minister Hussain Shahid Suhrawardi, had no option but to cool his heels. Usman met Gandhiji at 3 o'clock. Usman had brought a letter from Shahid Suhrawardi in which Suhrawardi has accepted Gandhiji's proposal to stay with him. Gandhiji's eyes brightened with joy as he read the letter. Many people had told Gandhiji that Suhrawardi was not a trustworthy man. He was a scoundrel. However, Gandhiji did not approve of such an opinion about someone. He decided to carry out his experiment. On the Western Front, in Karachi, 3 o'clock at noon, a press note had been prepared to send to newspapers by the Congress office in Karachi, which was in its last days. This press note was from President of the All India Congress Committee, Acharya J.B. Kripalani. Acharya Kripalani himself was in Karachi, but no enthusiasm at his visit was visible in the Congress office or among the handful Congress workers that were left behind. In this press note, Acharya Kripalani had rejected the allegations by Liaquat Ali Khan made earlier that day. Quote, "Yesterday Liaquat Ali Khan has accused me of inciting Hindus in Sindh and encouraging them to revolt against the government. I totally deny this accusation. I mentioned the slogan in some of the meetings in which it was said, 'Hans ke liya Pakistan, ladke lenge Hindustan.' In this regard, I have asked both the Hindus and Muslim communities to stop raising such slogans. I told the creators of such slogans that Hindus in Pakistan would face a difficult situation if the Indian army reached the border of Pakistan. Also, Muslims in India would be placed in a precarious situation if the Pakistani army approached the Indian border. The Congress still has not abandoned the area of undivided India. However, it is our endeavor that it should be in a peaceful manner. This was Acharya J.B. Kripalani's message from Karachi. Governor's House in Delhi. Lord Mountbatten's office. Lord Sahab seated on his special armchair with closed eyes and lost in thoughts. An exhaustive view of the British Empire in India passes in front of his eyes. On this day, yes, on this day, the political representation of the British had started in the then undivided India. August 12, 1765 to be precise. This was the Allahabad Treaty. East India Company had been existing since 1600 AD, and the British had signed many treaties with the rulers of Bijapur, Marathas, Nizams, with all of them. However, all those agreements and treaties pertaining to trade, the British entered into a treaty of political nature for the first time after the Battle of Buxar with Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II exactly 182 years ago. Much water had flown in Ganga since then. Even 1857 had happened. Yet today, we are going to hand over this empire to the Indians in just 2 days. Lord Sahab came to his senses. As of now, it was of no use to gloat on the past. The present had to be reserved. The Lord Sahab had to complete a very important topic, and that was of dividing the military of undivided India. Accordingly, 2 of the 10 squadrons of Air Force would be given to Pakistan, while India would get 8. Army and Navy had been divided in the ratio of 2:1 among India and Pakistan respectively. However, Field Marshal Sir Cloud Auchinleck would continue to remain the supreme commander of both the countries' militaries, and Lord Mountbatten would remain chairman of the Joint Defence Council. Far away in London, the Indians in the British capital were enthusiastic and thrilled on the day of India's independence. The tricolour was to fly on India House on August 15 with elan. British Prime Minister Attlee and his cabinet colleagues had been invited for the program. The event was to be presided by the Indian High Commissioner Krishna Menon. The event was to take place at 11 o'clock in the morning. In addition, this ceremony was to be held in smaller groups at many public places of London. All Indian restaurants were to be decorated in tricolour on August 15th. Indian students in London's West End would be celebrating the occasion in Swaraj House. The main speaker at the grand ceremony of Indian Workers' Association was to be Achyutrao Patwardhan, the doyen of India's socialist movement. A special show of screening a Hindi movie, Dharti, was to be organized on the night of August 14th to celebrate India's independence at the Royal Talkies on Northridge Road in Singapore. The film, which starred Mumtaz Shanti and Trilok Kapoor in the lead, has already acquired considerable popularity everywhere. Haidari Manzil in Beliaghat of Calcutta. The place chosen for Gandhiji to stay together with Shahid Sohrawardi. The building originally belonged to an English merchant. However, members of the Dawoodi Bohra community of Shia Muslims from Western India had purchased some places in Calcutta in 1923. Haidari Manzil was among them. A Bohra trader named Sheikh Adam had purchased this building. Sheikh Adam had willed this building to his daughter Husseini Bai Bengali before his death. However, the place is currently under the possession of Surawardi. Beliaghat was rather a dirty and filthy area, an area with a mixed population of Hindus and Muslims, but with Muslims in majority. This building had been lying deserted. Nobody lived there. Rats and rodents roamed freely everywhere. However, since Gandhiji and Surawardi were going to stay here from the next day, repair of the building had been started. A large number of laborers and artisans were seen striving since the evening to give a new look to the Haidari Mahal. In Mumbai, the house of a worker of Rashtra Sevika Samiti. It was 9:30 p.m. However, a meeting of 35 to 40 Sevikas, women volunteers, was currently going on in that spacious house. The Pramukh Sanchalika of Rashtra Sevika Samiti, Lakshmibai Kelkar, Akka Maushiji, was going to Karachi by the next morning's flight. This meeting was being held in that connection. Mausiji had received a letter from a Sevika in Karachi, Jethi Devani, about 8 to 10 days ago. That letter described the precarious condition of Sevikas and their families in Karachi. After reading it, Mausiji decided to go to Sindh province, especially Karachi, and make proper arrangements for the Sevikas. Freedom after partition was just 3 nights away. The border was literally on fire. In the province of Punjab, there was nothing in the name of administration. People were being killed like chickens. And the leaders who accepted the partition of June 3rd were preparing for the midnight of August 14th in the political atmosphere of Delhi. This was August 12th, 1947.